Greetings everyone, my name's Harley Angel, and there's a couple of things I like to say before we get started. First of all, there's nothing new under the sun. You've probably heard some of this information before, and that's okay. Maybe I can put a new spin on it where you can actually use the information in a different way. Number two, you may not agree with everything in this presentation, but I do cover a lot of material. So if there's anything in this presentation that you disagree with, fine, leave it. But if there's stuff that you do agree with, use it. And number three, I want you to be open-minded. I want you to be open-minded enough that you receive information and actually do something with it, but actually I want you to be critical too. I want you to be critical enough to actually question the information and put it to the test for yourself. Alright? With that, we'll get started. Thank you. Greetings everyone, my name's Harley Angel, and this is the power of intention and vocabulary. Now, if you haven't noticed, I'm a big fan of Dorothy. Love the whole story. There's several different esoteric versions of the story, underground different versions that tell the story in different ways. One of those versions were about the banking system. Forget that. I'm not using that version today. I'm telling it in a whole new, different way. And this is about your thought process and how it works with inside you. Alright. Dorothy, as a young girl, she got caught up into a great big storm. Her neighbor wanted to take her dog away. The bank was closing on her house. And the whole place in Kansas was a dust storm anyway. So a lot of things were happening to her. In the process of this happening, sometimes you get knocked out, put to sleep to your true self. But fortunately for her, she had a fairy godmother. Well, this could be her higher self, or perhaps a friend that let her know that truly Dorothy is a witch. Now, I don't know about you in your practice sometimes, but every once in a while in mine, I get this feeling of being large, or even tall. Not that it's bad or I'm bigger than anybody, it's just that's just the feeling that I get for a little bit. And I think this displays it in the movie and the book very well. That the moguls, or the munchkins, the regular people who aren't learning about themselves, people who drink beer too much on Sundays and wear, their favorite jerseys and stuff, and join lollipop guilds and frustrated with their own lives and their sisters' lives. Yeah, those people. Because you're different now. Because you're learning something. Like Dorothy learned that she was a witch, and she doesn't have to live the way she was. But she's going to need 3 things to help her through her journey. Thought, which is the scarecrow. Emotion, the Tin Man. And courage, the lion. Well, with the scarecrow, you ever notice that some of the dumbest people are having the best time in their lives? They hardly notice anything and they're just having a great time. But they don't notice that they're in rags and that they're easily caught on fire. You know those people. Now it's interesting how they put the person without emotion as the working tin man, the woodcutter. Someone who has to work all day long, no time for emotions, no time for thinking, just get the job done. You met these get her done type people. But they're hard to get along with because they're only concerned about one thing. Work. Yeah. And there's a place for that, But it's not who you are. Your job is not you. And thirdly, the cowardly lion. We all need to have courage to get through in life. And we're not talking about the courage of having to stand up to the gang members outside your doorway. Leave that up to the police. We're talking about having to say the things that you need to say. At the appropriate time to say them, of course. And you notice during the movie, the lion didn't have to take a whole lot of action when it came to a fight with the flying monkeys. All he had to do was roar, and they all went away. I think that's kind of like your courage to yourself to make those bad thoughts fly away. Maybe. Well, in this journey, She wanted to go home. She no longer wants to go hang out with the little people, the moguls or the munchkins anymore. She wants to go home, and I don't blame her. And she was told the way to get home was through the Emerald City. Now, the Emerald City is important because it's green. Green is the color of balance, nature, the heart energy. It's the center point. And if you can actually get balanced and get to the center energy, the heart energy, that's where all the magic happens. At the time this book was written, the rainbow was a symbol of magic. So the green energy, your own heart energy, the pure thoughts that you have, that your wishes are, they can come true. You just have to know how to tap into it. Unfortunately, also that lives in your heart is a little man behind the curtain that pulls all the strings. He's your little ego. You ever have said anything to anybody that you wish you could just shove those words right back into your mouth? Or you did something and then 20 minutes later you're wondering, well, who the hell would do something like that? That's your little ego reacting and not responding. And in this case with Dorothy, the little ego told her, said she has to go out and conquer some great evil to go home. And also she is green too. This is like a larger ego. She had to conquer her anger, her enviness, what other people have. That's also green. So there's a flip side to everything. She had to conquer Elphaba. We can break down the words of Elphaba. El means God. PHA is the word where we get the word pharmaceutical. It's Greek for words. It's Greek for spells. It's Greek for spells, potions, and one other thing I can't remember at the moment. We'll get to that. But Elphaba, she actually had to conquer the land of drugs. Oh, there it is. It's the land of drugs, spells, and potions. That's what PHA stands for. It's Greek. So Elphaba, El is the name of God. PHA is the Greek word for pharmaceuticals, where we get the word pharmaceuticals, which means drugs, potions, and spells. And little Dorothy had to conquer the land of drugs, potions, and spells and her own enviness to get home. But the ego lied to her. That didn't get her closer to home. Oh my goodness. And then it took her fairy godmother, once again, to tell her, home is not a place on the outside of you. Home is a place on the inside of you. And when you do the inner work, you meditate and you learn about yourself, that's where you go home. That's where home is. Home is where the heart is. And when she did that, home instantly came to her, the real one. So what actually happened in the story? What's going on? Well, I'm going to talk about a couple of phenomena here. Have you ever been thinking about somebody and they called you up on the phone? You know, like 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later? It's happened. This has happened to me, and I'm not sure if it's happened to everybody, but I've talked to a few people and they've said it's happened, and I've talked to a few people and they said it hasn't. I've been walking to the car, I'm listening to the thoughts in my head, and a song pops up, and I'm like, why is that song in my head? I get in the car, I turn on the key, and that song's on the radio. It's happened more than once. What if this stuff wasn't happening to you? What if you're actually making this happen through your own energy and your own thoughts? Well, this actually has been a study, and it's called Reality Transurfing by Van Dam Zeeland. And he had this stuff happen to him. He was thinking about a friend and then all of a sudden a friend would call him on the phone. And the same thing, or with deja vu. He's wondering why this stuff was happening. And he figured that by the end of this book, he's telling you this stuff is happening because of you. It's not happening to you. But, there's a very big but. You have 8 billion other people that are doing this too. So their thoughts are transcribing through your thoughts, and your thoughts are going through their thoughts, and it's all this big jungle mess. But the universe wants to give you the things that you want, but it also wants to give everybody else the things that they want too. So just say if me and 3 friends are walking to the car, and now we all have a different song in our head. It's not necessarily the strongest thought that gets through on this, where we get to hear the song on the radio. It's probably the most pure thought that actually gets through, and the universe receives on that, and it turns it back to you. What if I told you there was a real life Dorothy, and in his biography, he told you all about it. And this man in 1890 made $2 billion in 20 years in 1890 money. Not adjusted for today's dollar. In 1890 he made $2 billion in 20 years. And his name is Andrew Carnegie. See, Andrew Carnegie was born in Scotland. And not a lot of opportunity going on in Scotland in the 1800s, so at 14 years old he got on a boat and sailed to America. And when he got here, not too long afterwards the Civil War broke out. Not very good timing. And all he could do was get shit jobs, literally. For years he shoveled stables for horses and cattle and such. He worked on farms, he worked on railroads, just nothing very well paying jobs, just nothing. Until he got into his mid-40s, he got a job at the telegraph agency. He went to coding school. He still had a brain. So he was the telegraph agent. He worked there. And not very many people got telegraphs, not very ordinary people. I mean, the town sheriff got telegraphs. He needed to know who was wanted. The local politicians, they needed their marching orders. They got telegraphs. Merchants, they got telegraphs. But the normal working person did not. Except for this one gentleman in town who did not have a job, who was not a merchant, who wasn't even rich, but for some reason was getting telegrams every day or every couple of days. People wanted to meet him. People wanted to send him boxes of money or gifts. Very odd. One day, Carnegie asked the gentleman, "What are you doing? What's going on? You're not actually a production guy. You're not doing things, but you're receiving gifts, and people are coming to see you, and you're doing things." He goes, his reply to that was, "Since you had the nuts to ask me, I'm going to tell you. I'm able to have the thought of what I want in my head, develop a picture of what I want in my head, and hold that feeling of what I want, that I already own it in my body for minutes at a time. And then I let that feeling go. And then I wait for things to happen. And then when things are happening, it's my job to notice those things happening, and I react to them. And hopefully I react to them properly. And then I get things." Well, isn't that an amazing story? So Andrew Carnegie developed this technique, and he said he can hold that thought in his head for 10 minutes at a time. And then after that, he was able to build an empire in less than 20 years. From the time that he was 50 to the time he was 70, he built that empire that you hear of today. Before then, it was just regular jobs. Well, I'm looking forward to getting on that train. I want to ride. But please, whatever you do, do not call this law of attraction. Because law of attraction is something that they're using to sell books. It's a feel-good process. Which there's nothing wrong with feeling good. But the one thing law of attraction has right is that the set it and forget it principle. You know, you do your thing, you walk away, don't think about it too much again. Other than that, they're just telling you to just feel good in life. Well, that's true too, but there's some things you gotta do to feel good in life, so that way you can let go of the crap so you can get the things you want. Because there's nothing wrong with wanting things. I want you to want things. I want things. But you have to do things to do it, because To receive something, you got to do something. You just can't sit on your couch. And those things are the inner work, decreasing importance, letting go on how reality really works, and accepting the answer no. And I'm going to explain a little bit on these things. All right, the inner work. Learning about yourself from the inside, knowing who you are is so important. You have to know who you are on a deep level. All right, you have to be able to sit alone with yourself and spend quality time alone with yourself. If you can't do that, none of this is going to work for you in any degree. All right, so you have to know who you are. If you're chasing down caviar dreams and you're a cowgirl, no, you're gonna get half of what you want at best, or some kind of mock version of it. You're not gonna be living that. So, knowing who you are is so important. I can't express that enough. You have to know yourself from at a very deep level. All right, decreasing importance. I'm guilty of putting something on a pedestal, and we all are. Putting something so high up on a pedestal that you'll sling so many magic arrows at it, you're never going to hit it. You have to understand, if it's inside of you, it's inside of your heart, you can bring that thing back down to your level, and it's yours. Because the things that you want you. But you have to make it where it's possible. You know what I mean? You can't make something made out of gold leaf and then expect the universe to hand it to you, because you're going to break it because it's made out of gold leaf and you made it. Bring it down a couple of notches. It's not that important. And then when it becomes not that important, then all of a sudden it's kind of there. It's weird how that works. Letting go on how reality really works. Everybody's looking for miracles. It's probably not going to happen to you. And what do I mean by miracles? Okay. Let's pretend that I'm standing on a cliff. I'm overlooking the Grand Canyon. And the rock gave way and I fell 1,000 feet. Well, it'd be a miracle that I didn't break any bones and I ended up with just a couple of bruises. What a miracle is that Mother Nature suspended its rules for just a moment so something didn't happen or something could happen. I didn't break any bones. All right. But this isn't going to happen all the time for you. You're going to have to let go on how things are going to come to you if you want something like the new car. Maybe you're going to have to let go of the old car for a little while. You know, quit making or turn that in, save up money, take the bus. I don't know. There's many different ways to think about it. There's one story I have in particular on letting go how reality works though. One day the wife picked me up from work. I work in a warehouse district and there's many stray cats out there. One of the stray cats were black and ran across the car. My wife turns to me and goes, "Oh, I miss our little kitty cat Onyx." Onyx had passed away a few years before, and I turned to the wife and go, "I miss our kitty cat Onyx too." Well, we both know the feeling of having a little black kitty cat. 3 days later, I'm at work, and through the tall grass I seen this little head pick up and then sit back down into the grass again. I was like, what was that? So I walk over to it, and it's a little black kitty cat, maybe a week and a half old, just opened its eyes. I brung it home, and now we have another black cat. Now, did we make that happen? Maybe. I mean, it was just 2 or 3 days before we made the wish. So maybe that energy went out there and the universe received it, and since it was a pure thought and not a hopeful thought, it came back to us. Now, accepting the answer no, that's a toughie. Ouch. Oh my goodness. Sometimes things aren't meant for you. Sometimes the job that you wanted, the girl or the boy that you wanted, the universe said no for a reason. I mean, I could have been middle management at this landscape company that I worked at for 14 years. Thank goodness I don't work there now. Thank goodness I'm not middle management. Screw that. You know? At the time, though, it seemed like the most important thing in the world. You know, I even got frustrated with everything. But, I'm kind of glad the answer was no then. Now I have a new group of friends, and I love them dearly, and I wouldn't have changed anything for it. Now, since we're going to use words to describe what's going on around us and ask the universe for what we want, it's important to know what a word means. A word is a single, distinct, meaningful element of speech and writing. I know there's a bunch of witches just cheering me on once they heard that definition, right? No? None of you guys see that, right? Words are elements! For crying out loud! Words are fire, they're water, they're air. That's the way you use it. Come on. I mean, Martin Luther King, that's a man with his words on fire. Am I right or wrong? Bruce Lee, he said, be water. If you're in a cup, be the cup. Janis Joplin, oh, earthy chicks. Yeah, we'll just keep going on that one. But Carl Sagan, air. That man can read me the white pages. I swear to you, you can be one of the billions and billions and billions amongst the white pages here. Your name is here. I bet you people under 18 are going, what the hell is a white page? No kidding. But it's your expression, it's your emotions, the things that you feel, they come out in the way you say it. And trust me, people who are empathic, they feel this all the time. They know the way that you're saying the words that you're speaking express who you are and what you're feeling that moment. Now, what's an intention? Intention is that thing that's aimed for. It's the plan. When a bow and arrow is set off, if you're archery hunting, when the game runs by, you don't just sit there and go, ready, set, pull back the string, and then let go of the arrow. It doesn't work like that. It's all one fluid motion. So let me try to explain it to you like this. When your intentions are good and good enough, you don't have to take a lot of action. It doesn't feel like a lot of action. One afternoon I was working on my presentations, and I was thinking to myself, I want a snack. I want a bowl full of grapes and apples that's right off over there in the kitchen, but I had to make it myself. So I developed a plan to get off my ass, walk around the kitchen table, get into the dining room and such, grab the knife and fork, cut up the apples, get the grapes out, make me a bowl. Just as soon as I was gonna push my ass off the couch, my wife walks into the living room and goes, "Hey, would you like to have a bowl of grapes and apples?" And I put my ass back down and said, "Yes, I would love a bowl full of grapes of apples, and I'll take a lemon tea with that too, please. Thank you very much." So, I think sometimes if you're good at this, things will just happen for you. You just have to see when they happen, and then react to them, or not react to them, respond to them. There's a difference. But what are we really saying to each other? And that's why I always got into etymology, because it does make a difference. So some of the ways that we're going to break down words through etymology is we're going to look up the original Latin or Greek meaning, or as far back in time as we can find it. And then sometimes I like to take an occultic or an esoteric look at the word too. Let's see how that turns out. So we're going to have a conversation about this. Con is the Greek meaning to pull together or hold together. Verse, also Greek, is a section of song that we all sing together. Shun, the T-I-O-N, I looked this up in a dictionary, and the shun sound means a segment of time. It's a section, get it? It's a segment of time. So whenever you hear the shun sound at the end of a word, that's what it means. Also, again, esoterically, I can't stop. It just doesn't stop. I-O-N. Your eye is on. You're actually paying attention to what's just happening in that moment. You ever had such a great conversation with somebody and you thought only 30 minutes went by and you looked down and 3 hours went by? That's a great conversation, and your third eye was on because you were just enveloped into that moment. And the reverse happens as well. You ever had a 3-hour conversation, wished that it was only 3 minutes, and you're just trying to drive your fingernail into the palm of your hand, wishing this thing would be over with? Well, that's also your third eye on, but your attention is somewhere else. So, conversation, in my viewpoint, is together we sing with our third eye on. Also, if you ever want to discover what you should be doing in life, forget numerology. If you know your full name at birth, maybe your parents really did do you a favor. This is my full name. This is my actual name at birth. It's Harley Angel Corum. And Harley is actually Old English, and it's a title. It's a title. And what a Harley was is someone who would chase rabbits from your farm. See, back in the early 900s, 1100s, if you're a landowner or a farmer and you couldn't get rid of the hares or rabbits that infested your farm, you had to hire somebody called a Harley to get rid of the hares and rabbits. Also, I like the occultic version of that. I like the occultic version of that, of chasing rabbits down the hole. So Harley is somebody who likes to chase the information rabbit down the hole. Angel is the Greek word for messenger. And Corum is the Saxon word for someone that comes from the land of crows and cranes. Just a little touch of creepy. Not too much. Yeah. So I got a little balance going on there. So, in etymology, my name would actually mean someone who actually likes to chase the information down the hole and bring it back as a message. And maybe make it creepy every once in a while. In comparison, my little brother, Alistair Levi Corum. Alistair is Gaelic for defender of mankind. Levi is Hebrew, which is short for Leviticus, for joined together. And again, Saxon, one who comes from the crows and cranes. It's not so much as the definitions, but you can just see, like, in the titles of the names themselves. It's like Harley Angel, Alistair Levi. You can see like there was a duality kind of growing up. You know, one was a little bit high-minded and one was really straightforward. I wonder which one was that. I wonder which one was who was a little bit high-minded. Alright, and then lastly, literal phonics. Literal phonics is another way that I see words, that I like to break them down. Like the word beautiful. Being you to the fullest. I love this one. Because it doesn't matter what you look like or what, as long as you're doing something that you're supposed to be doing. Say like if you're dancing and you're only 3'6" and you got this weird dog-tailed growth coming out of your forehead, dance like Rewan, girl. Get out there. Do it. But be beautiful doing it. I mean, just go ahead. The second one is intimacy. And intimacy does mean, yes, you're going to take your clothes off with somebody and share yourself with somebody, but intimacy also can mean you can share your heart with somebody. You can have that delightful conversation where actually you shared a piece of yourself with somebody and they shared a piece back. That is also intimacy. Alright? Television. There's a couple different ways you can say that. But it does television. It does literally tell you what you want to see. Or what you don't want to see. And then draws an emotion out of that. And imagination is an image in action. You're actually putting the pictures in your head in motion. But here's the gears of the system. There's actually a lot of things happening between the space between you and me. It's not just air. You ever heard the term, oh, it's just air between you and me? No. There is a lot going on. And it's called vibration, energy, and frequency. And this is the black plate test. What they did is they took a meter that generates tone and hooked it up to a black metal plate. And the meter itself actually generates the tone and assigns the number to it. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just use your imagination a little bit, because you already know that the low vibrations bring big giant arches and very little patterns. High vibrations are just the opposite. Lots of patterns. So this is a low vibration. And we're just going to say that this is the bottom of the scale of emotion, like fear. And as we go up the scale, anger, disappointment, etc., you can see higher and higher and higher vibrations. So we get more and more detailed patterns. And then there's also a center point of balance. Where it's not quite like, where it's not love, where it's not anger, but acceptance. I think that's more like the middle point. And it goes up from there. So we are producing these vibrations all the time. Whether you're doing it on purpose or on accident, this is always happening. I think we're getting closer into the sameness, and likeness. You can see the vibrations are getting higher and higher. And the patterns are getting more and more complex. Because it takes a little bit more effort. But it's worth it. See, through your thoughts, you create an emotion. And with that emotion, you create a frequency. And there's patterns to it. People like empaths see it all the time. Well, they don't see it, they feel it. But finally I got an expression on how you can actually see it. Now I think we're starting to get into the part right place. Unconditional love and acceptance. You see there's a lot going on with that. So what just happened? Harley has a thought. Uh-oh. Look out. Alright, so what happens when you have a thought? In the center of your head, a little neurotransmitter goes off. It's like a little light in the center of your mind. Being that light goes off, and it connects to all these other different lights going off at the same time. And what these are, is that they're reference points. Did this happen to me before? Was the experience good? Was the experience bad? Or how do I adjust what I do so the experience is different? Is it hot? Is it cold? And what happens is that these lights keep going down to your brainstem, because your brainstem is part of you, is part of your brain, and it keeps going down, keep knocking off these reference points of things that you've learned before, and it hits to the bottom where you actually have the root chakra action, and it comes back up, and then you take a deep breath, and through that deep breath you compress your lungs, and over top of your vocal cords, which causes vibrations through the expressions, you're causing frequencies. And this video is what happens next. Now this is Dr. Emoto's world famous water experiment. And what he did was he took 3 bottles of water. The first bottle of water was the control. Nothing happened to it. He put it in the freezer and froze it. The second bottle of water, he said, "I love you and I appreciate you." And he wrote that onto the bottle and put that in the freezer. The third bottle of water, he said, "I hate you, I want you to die." He put that in the freezer. Everything froze. He took out the first bottle of water, took out a piece, looked underneath the microscope, and he just seen water crystals. The second bottle of water, "I love you and I appreciate you." He's seen the most amazing things. These are very easily looked up on the internet. Hurt anybody with it. If this makes me angry, do something, then change it, and then change why you're doing it. Do it out of love. So you're mostly water, and these things actually happen to you due to your own thoughts, your own actions, your own words, and other people around you as well. And they're doing it to you too. You said that those words don't affect me. Well, they did affect you a little bit, but you just chose a different route with that. And what a lot of this is called neuro-linguistic programming. And as explained by David Snyder, this is an excellent way to learn how to learn other people and learn about yourself. What it is, it's conversational hypnosis. And it's happening to you all the time, especially when you're watching television. Commercials, the back of your shampoo bottle, just things in general. It's all the time it's happening to you because you're always in a state of hypnosis. When you're driving your car and you're not paying attention, all of a sudden you went by your exit. That's a state of hypnosis. When you're watching television and all of a sudden all the living room just went away and that's the only thing that you pay attention to is the television. That's a state of hypnosis. And it even works in a good way. Remember that conversation that I told you about before. When you're trapped in that conversation and it's great, that's also hypnosis. We just give it different perspective. And people who are good at neuro-linguistic programming will pull the wallet right out of your pocket and take every dime out of it. But if you use it in a good way, you will have such an enriched life. You will know somebody so much better. I suggest that you please just give one chance to David Snyder and just look up his YouTube channel and just go to watch. So what are the magic words that we use? All of them. All the words are magic. Every single thought that comes through your head is magic, and every single word that comes through your mouth over your vocal cords is magic. Every single one of them. They affect you and they affect somebody beside you. But some carry more weight than others. Some have more thud. And it's not the one you're thinking of. What's the strongest word? No. Not just no. It's no with authority. And you know the difference. Get it? You know the difference? No. You know the difference between no and when your mom says, "No, damn it, I'm done with it." It's a no with authority. It's a turning point. If you don't like the script of your life, you say, "No, no more. I'm not taking it anymore." And then you write a new one. It's like this. You ever seen this cheesy 80s movie? Where the underdeveloped geek is in high school and the cheerleaders, when he comes into class, one of them throws her bubble gum in his hair and they just laugh at him because they know that he can't do anything. And then the next scene in the movie is, one of the asshole stoners. He's walking down the hallway and they knock the books out of his hands and he still can't do anything because, he's just a small little kid. And then there's like this one scene that's usually about a third of the way through the movie. And the poor kid's running from the jocks. They're chasing him down, and it's raining, and it's cold, and they're next to the park, and he trips, and he slides, and one of the jocks actually jump on his back. They grab a handful of hair, and they're going to push his head in the mud, and all of a sudden his head does not go in the mud. His eyes open up, and the screen is right there, and you know something changed, and he says the word no. Then he goes all Karate Kid on the guy. Well, I don't think it actually happened like that, but no is the turning point, and you got to use it, because that is the statement. But it's a trick word, trick question, because you have to know something, and you have to know it through experience. It's the difference between reading a book on France and actually going there. And there's a difference between actually going to France and actually living there for 10 years. Each perspective is different because you have a different scale of knowledge, because you experienced it. It's like when my mom told me not to put my hand on a hot stove. And as soon as she turned her head, my little jerk self said, toof! I'll put my hand on the hot stove, and now I know the difference of putting my hand on a hot stove. Some of us learned the hard way. But now I have the experience. But there's a statement that we can all make. And this is the strongest statement that you can make to yourself, or even when you say it to somebody else. I am. I am is the strongest statement that you're going to make. Ever. Period. The reason why there's ... after it is because whatever follows that, you will eventually become. You might not be it right now, but you keep saying it over and over again, you will be that. I am great and abundant. Well, maybe I might not be the richest man in the world, but I feel abundant. Everything's working and everything's going. I don't mind. I have a roof over my head and I have food in my stomach. That's all that's required for me to be abundant. I am a piece of shit. Horrible statement. But if you keep saying that, eventually you're gonna be that. And you're gonna wonder why you can't get out of the gutter. Well, because you keep telling yourself that you're a horrible thing. Stop it. These affirmations that we learned when we were a child and we seen on Saturday Night Live, they seem silly at first. They seem stupid. But I've learned that they're necessary. Sometimes you have to say, I'm a good person, and continue on. And then, at first when you're saying to yourself, I'm a good person, or I'm abundant, or I deserve better things in life, at first they sound silly, and they do feel silly, but after a while you start learning that these things are true about yourself. You are a good person, you are deserving of the abundant things in life, and eventually they do come for you. Just like back at the beginning of the presentation, you just got to keep the mindset of seeing stuff that are happening and then respond to it. But you're never going to respond to it if your head's down in the gutter saying horrible things about yourself. I am is the strongest statement you're ever going to make. Now magically, can you make up words? Well, I think so. Bippity boppity boo, my witches. I think this is a great one. Because I think the universe really doesn't care about the actual words sometimes as it does about the feeling and the emotion and all that's pushed through it. I think my favorite comedian, Robin Williams, when he came up with Mark from Ork, he just wanted a new way to greet people and just be silly about it. Nanu, nanu. And he didn't even put out his hand. Kid Rock, I think he just wanted to get people up off the seats and actually doing something. Bong, chita bong, a bang, a bang. No, you get it. I think he wanted to get up people out of their seats. And this is a word that me and my drunk friends came up with because we were being stupid. And we wanted to cut people off drinking that had too much. And we developed this word right here that says, Bibiliat not boboskiditin dot. Say that 3 times real fast. And that is a very magic word because it allows you to keep drinking. I don't know how we came up with that horrible game. No. But I also want you to realize that the meanings of words change as well. At one time, the word cool meant a temperature, not warm, but not freezing. Now cool means James Dean, and he's got his back up against a light post with a cigarette and the fog's rolling in. That's cool. But also, things change differently too. Like at one time, the word Draco is the word for dragon. But now if I was going to go out onto the street and hand somebody $500 and say, bring me a Draco, that would bring me an AK-47. Now an AK-47 is now called a Draco. I didn't make the words up. I didn't change the meaning. It's just what it is. So I want you to understand that sometimes things change. And I just want you to understand that when you're using the words that are your thought process, just realize that some things may have changed. Oh, well, now I'm going to end this thing with some quotes. Mother Teresa said, "A kind word can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless." How many times has somebody said a kind word to you, and now you haven't even remembered it? But you've remembered all those shitty words, and they're not even true. My challenge is to you to start remembering the kind words now. And if nobody told you a kind word, say one for yourself. It takes practice, but you do it. Again with my friend Robin. At the end of this record, he quoted Lord Buckley. He said, "People are a lot like flowers." And he said, "Thank you and good night." My little head gets stuck in a loop sometimes. I was like, "Robin, what kind of flowers are we? I mean, what the heck? Can't just walk away like that." So my head got stuck. I wondered, who are the people in my life are like wildflowers? Wildflowers are great. They're awesome. You know what's great about them? They grow out of the cracks of sidewalks. And they bloom all the time. They never stop. I've seen wildflowers grow out of the face of a building. Who do you know is a wildflower? These are the people in your life that are, they're good. All you have to do is just, check in with them every once in a while. They're that friend that you haven't got in touch with in 5 years, and all of a sudden, boom, there they are. And you pick up right there, like nothing ever happened. And if they go back into the woods again, that's fine. They're good. And who do you know that are sunflowers? These are the people that are only in your life for a little bit. Some seasons are longer, some seasons are shorter, but for the time they were there, they gave you the sunshine. They made your life brighter. Now, roses are a particular kind of flower because they're powerful. Literally, wars have been fought underneath the banners of roses. But here's the thing about a rose and these types of people. They just need the right kind of soil, or they're not going to grow. They need just the right amount of water, or they're going to get mildew. They always need to be pruned, and they always need kind words to say to them. But once they start blooming, they're all power, baby. And you know these people. And you help them. And And lastly, I have the lotus. I did my research on the lotus. See, our lotus seed will only sprout in muck, unfit for anything else. That's where they begin life. In the cold and dark and grit. And they still grow. But it takes them a while. They might not know who they are until long, long time later they finally hit daylight. But when they do, they're the most beautiful of all. But are you willing to sit with that lotus in the dark? Are you willing to be their friend? I wonder. I want to thank Robin. I appreciate it for giving me this. People are a lot like flowers. It is my pleasure to wander through your garden. Thank you.